Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol here in the studio. Lots to get to, including the FA Cup, and that's where we'll kick things off tonight as we got to see Hull City from the Championship hosting Chelsea. Let's get word from Liam Delap speaking after the game.
Liam, congratulations. These games are never easy, coming to a lower league team and the snow's coming in. How pleased are you to make it through tonight?
Yeah, of course, we came here with only one task, and that was to win, and we showed that we could battle and also play some good football. So yeah, we're all happy.
Talk about good football, but Pedro Neto, a hat-trick. You set up 2 or 3 of them. I mean, how impressed were you with him?
Yeah, he's an incredible player. He's playing in a position that he's not even used to today, but he just showed his quality. He's an incredible player, and he's really good, and I'm happy for him.
Before we get on to the other positives, I have to ask, what on earth happened in the first half where you thought you'd score? What happened?
I swear on my life, I almost ran off. I thought it went in, and then obviously I was waiting for the ref to blow his whistle. Obviously I should have just put it in a second time, but yeah, crazy.
I mean, we had a look, it's like 2 inches, if that, from going over the line.
Yeah, I don't know, it's silly from me, but I thought it went in.
And the goal from the corner as well, did that go all the way? Is that planned? We saw your manager turn around and point to Bernardo Cueva, the set-piece coach. Was that a plan for Neto to go front post and try and get it all the way in?
Yeah, we have our ways of, applying pressure on the corners, and, we've been so close so many times, and, it's always nice to see one going.
And look, after the midweek draw with Leeds, your manager said that you need to stop being sloppy and get a 90-minute performance in. Do you think you got close to that today?
Yeah, of course. I think there's obviously some moments in the game where we do come off it a little bit, but we just need to keep building under Liam, and hopefully we can put them collective performances together and start getting more points.
Oh, well done tonight.
Thank you very much.
Now we welcome in Nader Manua, who was pitch side for us tonight. What stood out in this 4-0 win for Chelsea, Nader?
I think for me it was more a case of like how comfortable they made the game for themselves. A whole City side who were playing at home with 25,000 people here. They're up near the top of the Championship and pushing on to get into the Premier League. But it seemed like it was more than one league separating the two sides. I think Chelsea moved the ball so well. And even times where Hull were trying to be on the front foot and try and get to them, very quickly they beat the press and we're going full speed towards that Hull goal. And I think from a Hull perspective, they'd obviously be disappointed in terms of how they played relative to how they've done for the rest of the season so far. But yeah, Chelsea, I thought they were good. And I think sometimes when you watch them on TV, and we watch any side on TV, you can't really get a feel for it. But being down here pitch side, and to see some of the things that they were trying to go for, some of the combinations, the link-up play, the speed, the duels, the transitions and stuff, I was impressed. I think Chelsea are obviously a good side, and I could see just little by little what Rossini's trying to do. And as a consequence, the way that they played today, it was a very, very comfortable game. On a very cold night, a night that could have been a potential slip-up, especially given how you could argue they slipped up against Leeds just a couple of days ago. But instead, it was a very comfortable game. And that's a huge credit to Rossini and his players.
It's a long night at the office, don't you, when they're cutting the grass behind you? Need them.
And a cold one.
Yeah. And we're playing. Listen, don't shrug your shoulders. I don't want you. We're playing cold bingo with you. Now that's at least 6 from the live game into the FC show here. Not a lot of sympathy, but Chelsea. Just to echo that, very professional from their perspective. Never felt from the start of the game that they were ever going to be in trouble. Even at 1-0, if it stayed that way, which it didn't, it just didn't feel Hull had that extra gear. I think they will be disappointed. I mean, obviously, look, we think the FA Cup is big, right? But teams do it differently now. Teams make some changes. Teams are looking at getting promoted, as Hull are. And so, back in the day, you'd have been in the dressing room absolutely gutted that you've not...
Got up a fight, basically, yeah.
You've not given as good as what you probably can in a showcase game against one of the top 4 teams in England. But, I get the feeling they'll go in there now and think, right, it's all about promotion. It's all about the playoffs and possibly automatic if they have a good run. And, that's kind of how it felt to me. I mean, there was a little huffing and puffing at the end from Hull City, but it was 4-0 by that point. So I think from their perspective, disappointing. From Chelsea's perspective, and Liam Rossini's start to this Chelsea career, fledgling career, 2 losses against the best team in the country, Arsenal. Disappointing against Leeds to be 2-0 up, but it's hard to argue with the rest of the results. They've been pretty good. But the game could have been tighter and really should have been tighter if Hull had been better, which they were not, then it would have been a story. You know, if that had been at the end of the season and they're pushing to get in the Champions League, then you can't do stuff like that. So a small thing tonight, but coming off the back of the Leeds game, you know, as Stevie said, you shouldn't have to be talking to professional players of this calibre about just churning out, particularly in today's game where everything is let go. And there was no VAR at this game itself, this FA Cup tie, but as a general rule of thumb, Chelsea are playing with VAR every week, like every other club in the Premier League. And the whole edict now is to just keep going, particularly at key moments, and then they can go back and review it after. So he shouldn't have to be having a discussion with any of his players about how the game is officiated.
Now, today, Chelsea were up against a team that are a tier below them in the English pyramid, Naden, but the true test probably lies ahead now for Liam Rosenior when you look at what's coming for Chelsea. Just the next 3 games, Burnley at home, but then Arsenal away and Villa away as well. That's what things are looking like for them as it stands right now. What do you make of this? Is this going to be the true test of how he is as a coach?
Yeah, I think so. And especially with the weeks after that as well, you'll see the Champions League come back into play. And I think they'll be ready for those sorts of tests. I think one of the things with Chelsea in the last, say, couple of years, at times maybe they lack the consistency to be really good across a load of games. But I think in individual games, you can see them cause problems for so many different sides. You know, we saw them do that against Arsenal in the league earlier in the season. And I'm sure as his teams run into form, he has the belief in those players. I think the players have belief in themselves. I think he's trying to present an attacking style of football, which essentially every player wants to be a part of. And as I saw today, it felt like a team that was building on what they've done in times gone by. So yes, it's going to be a test for them, but I wouldn't bet against them being able to sort of disrupt some of these games up ahead. Like Aston Villa, they're ahead of them, but they're not miles ahead of them in terms of how they're playing at this moment. And in fact, you've seen them not be great in recent weeks, but still find ways to get results. Whereas for Chelsea, they'd won the 4 league games to start with, drawn the last one against Leeds, so they're in great form. They're in as good form as anyone else in this league right now. So I back them to do pretty well. Maybe there's a sense of recency bias because I've just seen it in the flesh, but I think they'll be up for that challenge. And you know, essentially, if you want to be successful come the end of the season, you know, this is a key part of the season now, which we're all looking forward to.
The games against Arsenal and Villa are actually, for us, coming at a great time, because we've been sitting here talking about this Chelsea side under Rosenior. And the only difference we can really see is that they're actually winning games they're supposed to. They're on a great run of games, but all the games basically have been games where they should win. And Burnley at the weekend is another one of those. But at Arsenal, at Villa, we'll figure out if there is a difference between Maresca's team and Rosenior's team. Because looking at it, it's hard to tell, particularly because he's making as many changes as Maresca did as well. So the real test of where this team is will be Arsenal and Villa, those 2 games, and we'll find out whether this Chelsea team is any different under Rosenior than it was under Maresca.
You've got this fight for the title, which I think we all think, you know, well, no, it's Arsenal and Man City, if indeed it is a fight, but it's certainly relatively close. And then you've got this real bun fight for Champions League football. And Liverpool are right in the mix of that now. They should have been in the title fight, but they're not. We've chronicled their season at length. You've got Man United resurgence. You've got Chelsea, who have been getting some decent results, but they're not anywhere near guaranteed. You've got Villa, who can be hot and cold. And so you've got all these sides. And listen, the title race may be over, and that may be what we're hanging our hat on. You know, who's going to get in the Champions League? Because I think that is going to be arguably, potentially tighter than the title race itself. Primarily because of Liverpool's, issues. Chelsea, we don't know, as Stevie said, when it gets to the crunch with this manager, with this team, and Man United have sort of taken the hat off and chucked it back in the ring, certainly at this moment in time. So it's going to be a big end to the season. I don't know how it would be viewed for any of those sides. I mean, Arne Slot was asked last week, would it be acceptable if Liverpool didn't get in the Champions League? And he said no, it would not be acceptable. And I would imagine Liam Rosenior's employers, even though they employed him to a sense at Strasbourg as well, would view it exactly the same. And so I think his remit, like the rest of them, would be Champions League football. The sort of outlier here is Michael Carrick and Man United, because nobody expected them to get in that Champions League, and they're giving themselves an opportunity at this moment in time.
Yeah, because there is Arsenal. Obviously, they dropped points against Brentford yesterday. Manchester City closing in on them as it stands. But Julian Laurent is not worried. Yesterday, he told us he had no concerns whatsoever.
Oh, go home, you know.
With your Arsenal ways, and Gyökeres is great. Are you worried?
No, and I don't think anybody should be worried. Why would you be worried for?
4 points, Jules.
But 4 points, it could well be 6, not this weekend because the FA Cup, but the following weekend. Or, you know, it could go up to more than that, or it could stay at 4. And, you know, City will have to play Brentford. Okay, be at the Etihad, but they will still have to play Brentford. City are not going to win every single game between now and the end of the season. Neither will Arsenal.
He's
No,
worried.
I'm not. I'm not. I promise you.
That's too much. Where is your bishop on the board?
I don't understand why you would say they're worried. 4 points.
Look, see, your voice
and
has
a
gone
very good
high. You're
difference.
talking
Not by
quicker,
much.
Jules. You can feel it.
Because I'm trying to convince you and to tell you that relax. Let's all relax here.
Nathan, you're good friends with Jules. Are you convinced by what he said? Do you believe him?
No, Jules is an excellent liar. I don't know if you've picked up that across the years, but he's an excellent liar. And I think in some ways, like, there will be some level of concern, not necessarily because of, say, what Man City have been doing, because I think as far as 2026 goes, there's been a lot of like critiques about them in first halves versus second halves and so on. But then if that's to be the case, why is the gap not bigger? I think in some ways we kind of need to look at, say, some of the issues that Arsenal have had. And to be fair, playing against Brentford is one of the toughest games in the Premier League as it stands. Their form's been fantastic. But why is the gap not bigger? Considering, like, you know, many of us, fancied them to win the league title and they've been the most consistent side throughout the season. Why does it still feel like there's some sort of a race there?
Are you saying Man City are winning it, basically, Nadem? Is that what you're telling us?
No. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Listen, I want that, but I'm not saying that. But the thing that surprises me the most is the fact that it hasn't been put away just yet. Obviously, you know, there was a point where we thought Arsenal were going to run away with it when City had a dip in form, Villa had a dip in form. But then Arsenal seem to have had a little mini dip themselves, and I think in some ways that will be concerning for them because, as we've seen through the last, say, 20 years or so, they've not managed to get it over the line just yet. I still do fancy them, but it's getting a lot closer than I thought it would have been at this point.
I said in yesterday's show, I think it was yesterday's show, they just keep throwing City a bit of a bone, don't they? And I think that's what Nedum's touching on. They're not 8 points, 9 points clear. I mean, you look at some of the draws. Sunderland, they gave up a 2-1 lead late on. All right, they're a tough side. Sunderland, good side in the Premier League, particularly at home. A lot of physicality. Forest, who have been struggling, well documented, sacked the manager again. There was a draw at the City ground against a struggling team. The defeat at Manchester United, at home to Manchester United. Was it the draw against Liverpool they had? And then the draw at Brentford, which I agree, Brentford are playing some really, really good stuff. But they'd won there the last 4 seasons, Arsenal. And so they're just not stretching that gap out at the moment. And when you don't stretch it out and the other team keep plodding along and winning, as City did the other night against Fulham, you can get a little bit restless in the dressing room. Now, a 4-point gap is still a decent gap. But it's not insurmountable. If you're in that City dressing room and it's 7, 8 and 9 points, you're demoralised. Because you're in that dressing room, you're thinking, you know, Manchester City that is, we're going to have to win every single game because we're never going to catch 9 points. They're not going to lose 3 or 4. And even if they lose 3 or 4, we're going to win every game, which we know this City side are not going to do. But at 4 points, that's just a little bit different, Stevie.
After the game the other day, after the Brentford game, I was thinking, you know what, could Arsenal actually bottle this? But then 24 hours later, I look at the big picture. It still means City have to win every game. And so that's not going to happen. And so I think maybe it's just a case of Arsenal are not as consistent as they should be for what they have. On paper, they are the best team, there's no question. And for the squad they have, but for some reason, they're kind of 7.5 out of 10 all the time. You know, the best team that wins the Premier League should be at least 8.5, week in and week out, and maybe lose the odd game, or maybe drop the odd point. You can't argue that Arsenal are dropping way too many points, but they're still 4 ahead. And it still means that they have to win. We have to lose. They're going to have to lose at least 3. In my opinion, they're going to have to lose probably at least 4 games between now and the end of the season.
But draws, Stevie, it could be draws.
It could be.
Each other.
So, no, I think, yes, 4 points doesn't look as good as 6 or 9 or whatever it was, but I still think that a really big time is in their hands.
I mean, they're slightly worrying in some of the games, and they are, look, by far the strongest squad, there's no doubt about it. And again, one of the things we talked about with Julian yesterday, which he was equally unworried about, was Gyökeres. And it's not just that Gyökeres is unconvincing, it's the fact that, again, we discussed this yesterday, even just take this game in isolation against Brentford. Have a good think about how many chances Arsenal created for Gyökeres. I can hardly think of one. It's just not that he's missing chances all the time. It's the fact that they're not creating them. In fact, Brentford and Thiago, who's having a great season, they were so much more of a threat. He was so much more of a threat to the Arsenal centre-halves than Gyökeres was to the Brentford centre-halves. So I think at times they're going to have to figure that out. Julian said it's going to be horses for courses, depending who plays. If it's Gabriel Jesus, whether it's Gyökeres, whether it's Kai Havertz, my God, whether it's Mikel Merino up there, who's done as good a job as some of the strikers. But ultimately, Gyökeres was brought in as 60 to 70 million, number 9, to score goals. And he's not doing that, and hence Arsenal are not running totally clear at this
I
moment.
think that's a bit of a guise, though.
What?
From Julian. It's horses for courses. The fact is, whether it's...
It wouldn't be if he was scoring.
It wouldn't matter. Yeah, it wouldn't be if he was scoring, but he's not. And the fact is that they don't have a centre-forward that's scoring goals. And whether it's Jesus, whether it's Gyökeres, whether it's Havertz, whoever it is, they're not creating chances for whoever the centre-forward is anyway. So, I'm not sure... I don't like the horses for courses, but I don't think it matters who they're playing through the middle, quite frankly, because the goals that they will get will be simple ones, but they won't get that many, because Arsenal don't create enough for them.
It's sort of managers.
Let him go because he's absolutely freezing.
It's one second.
It's Friday night.
No, keep him. It's sort of manager speak here, because listen. If Gyökeres was scoring every game, goal a game, and he was firing them in, then all this horses for courses chat about when they're playing a big physical team, they'll play Gyökeres. When they're playing somebody that'll sit deeper, they might play Havertz or Jesus. If Gyökeres was scoring every week, it wouldn't matter who they were playing. Exactly. He plays every week.
Shall we see if we can count to 100 in Spanish?
Okay?
Yeah. See?
Nathan, we're going to let you go. We know it's Friday night.
Oh, thank you so much.
We know you're freezing.
Kay, you've always been my favourite. Forget Craig Burley. Kay, you've always been my favourite.
Half a job.
I'm done.
Hey, as usual, half a job. Leaving halfway through the show.
I'll do the other half in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. You're getting half pay for this one tonight.
Yeah.
Bye, Nadem. Thank you.
Walk off.
If you want more on Nadem, you can go and check out the Jules and Nadem show. It's wherever you
they're
get
trying to house Gab. I'm telling you.
Agreed to become the Tottenham interim head coach until the end of the season. When you take a look at his resume, his last role was at Juventus last year. They finished 4th after he was named interim on March 23rd. He was sacked the following season in October after an 8-game winless streak. Before that, he resigned at Lazio after 11 games as manager. So we wanted to get a little word from Julian Laurent on what he had to say about what Tudor will bring. He said he'll bring all the discipline and authority that Frank never had. He's a good tactician with a clear structure and a back 3. I think it could work on a short term to make this team better. However, he is not a coach to build things with, as we saw at Juventus or Marseille, where he only stayed a year and less than a year.
Spurs don't have 3 centre-backs, do they?
They got 3. One of them's always injured, and the other one's always suspended.
The other one can't play.
You just feel Tottenham are flapping about in the water here. From one, this is a left field appointment, isn't it? I mean, he's a big, rugged. I played against him for Croatia. He's a big, rugged defender. He's got some managerial experience, but he's not stayed in jobs very long. I know this is an interim job and so forth, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I just feel this club really just go from one extreme to the other on a constant basis.
So the players have got 5 days off now because they don't need to play for a while. What's the first thing he needs to do now that he's taken on this role until the end of the season with this Spurs team?
Well, he needs to get them on his side. He needs to get them listening to him and get them to do what he wants them to do. That's ultimately You know, whether sometimes with coaches we talk a lot, and sometimes what we're saying isn't always right. But if you can convince your players that what you're saying is the right thing, then they'll follow you. So that's what he has to do. He's got a short period of time to get them in line and get them organised and get them playing together. You know, he doesn't need to come in and start with the tactics and we're going to do this and that. What he has to do is galvanise the team and get them together so that they fight for each other from the first minute to the last minute, so that they pick up enough points through sheer desire and fight. All of those things that underdogs normally have. You know, the will to win and the fight and the togetherness. If he installs that in them, it doesn't matter whether they play 3 at the back or 4 at the back. That's what they need enough in order to get enough points to stay in the Premier League. That's all he has to do.
He needs to. Well, he was a big rugged defender for Croatia and Juventus and other clubs, and he needs to somehow get a hold. You know, get Van de Ven and Christian Romero, because that's the 2 best centre backs. I know maybe he's going to play a 3. Who the hell knows? But he needs to make sure he can keep them on the field together as a partnership and add to it if he wants. But he needs Christian Romero. He needs to get in his head. Even if Christian Romero leaves at the end of the season or whatever goes, when a new manager comes, doesn't matter. He has to get this guy screwing the nut, as we would say a little bit, you know, engaging the brain, which I'm not sure he can do. But he's going to have to try and say, listen, I need you on the field. You have to think more about your decision-making on the park, because I need you on the park. I don't need you having 3 and 4 match suspensions, you know, every 6 weeks. It's no good to anybody. So he needs to do that. He needs to find a balance in the middle of the park, I think, which they really have struggled with. There's been a lot of changes for Tottenham in the middle of the park. I know there's been a lot of injuries, but there's still been a lot of changes. And he's just got to find that. He's got to find some continuity. But I can just imagine most of the Tottenham fans going, who the hell is Igor Tudor?
No big deal. A North London derby coming up for him.
Yeah.
Nice easy start.
Maybe should have
Nice easy
waited.
start. So the morning after the night before, sport went with total disaster. But let's get word from Hansi Flick speaking after that game and that big loss to Atleti.
We didn't play like a team. So we have the distance between everyone was too long, and I think it's also a situation we don't press how we want it, and we get in the first 45 minutes we get a great lesson for us, and sometimes it's good to get in the right moment. We have to accept this lesson, and then we have to make the things better. And also, how you said, we have to start from the beginning. And when you saw the players from Atletico, they have more will, they have more hunger to score goals like that. And this is what I want from the beginning, from the first minute. And in the first 45 minutes, we didn't show that. We start with yellow cards, okay? Normally, in the first action with a foul to Balde, it's a yellow card. Secure. It's just a yellow card, and I you know, and then it's everything. It's maybe different, but he invited them to play like this, and the second yellow card was it could be. So it's totally different. But I want to, come on. It's for me. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess like that, and they have to wait. I don't know how many minutes. 7 minutes? Was 7 minutes? Oh, come on. What? Come on. They find something in these 7 minutes. Okay. For me, when I see this situation, was clear no offside. But at the end, maybe they could see something different. But tell us. And there's no communication, and this is so bad here.
What do you want to pick up from that, Craig?
Well, he's absolutely correct about the VAR. That was ridiculous. Stevie would just say, I still can't get my head around that, but that's been and gone. In one sense, he's praising Atletico Madrid for their fierce start, their aggression, their intensity, the desire to go and win the game and press, and in another breath, he wants them yellow carded for challenges. I don't think it's a time, if I'm being honest, and he said a lot of things right over the last 18 months in Barcelona. There's been a lot to enjoy about what his team have done and what he said. But I don't think when your team have played as badly as they have, and particularly in the first 45, and your team were an absolute shambles Not just defence, but he's right about the spaces and everything, but when you have those spaces and you're not pressing the ball as well, your defenders cannot step as high as they are. The two things don't go hand in hand. So you have to recognise that. So, you know, he has to take this one in the chin. They were absolutely awful. But as I said, after this live game, strangely enough, I don't think they're out of it. Because they can, we've seen Atleti. Mm-hmm. They are Jekyll and Hyde. And we've seen Barcelona at home. They can score 4 or 5 against anybody. So it's theoretically not over, but the direction he went down, I think was a bit disappointing for me, actually.
Let's talk about the Atleti direction.
When things are not going your way, regardless of how good you are going forward, you have to have some sort of other plan when things are not going your way. You can't just turn around and say, well, that's the way we play. Because if that's what you're going to do all the time, then you better get ready for more results like this. Because when you play as badly as a defence as Barcelona did, I'm telling you, I don't care who they're playing next, they're stepping on the field thinking about what happened the last game. Now, if they're going to go far in the Champions League and going to play against other real good teams going forward, then they're not winning the Champions League. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It was funny to begin with, because you're saying, well, he can't keep doing this. Eventually they're going to change. Well, they're not. And unless the middle of the park is at their best, closing the ball down, this is going to happen a lot more. And you can't hope to win the Champions League and La Liga and every other big tournament if you're gambling, because that's what you're doing. Every time they step on the field, they're gambling. You can't get away with it forever.
If they don't win La Liga, and they're still the favourites, but if they don't win it against a poor, dishevelled Real Madrid side, that'll be the reason. Yep. You know, they've got a brilliant goalkeeper in Jean Garcia, but he's not Superman. So that will be the reason. It won't be because Lewandowski or Ferran Torres or Lamine Yamal or Rafinha or Fermin Lopez or Pedri's out for a month. Won't be that. It'll be that defence. But the other side of it, the coin, was it seemed like a universal thought process after that game that everybody went, why can't we see this from Atleti more often? It was exciting to watch. It was fun. It was full of pace. You just think, where is this on a regular basis? Because the argument that they don't have the players is wrong. I mean, they might not have the best players in the Liga, but they have some really good players that can play like this. And that is the big question, is why do they do it? And when they do it pretty well, but why is it sporadic? Why is it not most weeks? You can't always do it most weeks, but you can go out with the intention to try and do it, which they don't seem to do. And that's the frustrating thing for me, watching this Atleti side with some of the players that they have, that they could do this a lot more often. Go for the jugular, go after teams and put them under that amount of pressure, particularly at the Metropolitano. But for some reason, Levante will pitch up, or Oviedo will pitch up, or Elche will pitch up, and it'll be drab. There's just no rhyme or reason behind it, because that was a brilliant display from Simeone's men. Yeah,
we'll see if we get more of that from Atleti going forward with what's left of the season in La Liga. They will be back in action. It's a Madrid derby. Rayo Vallecano they're up against on Sunday. As for Barcelona, they're back in action. A Catalan derby on Monday. They're up against Girona, and that game is available on ESPN 2.
Phil, congratulations through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. How pleased are you with your players tonight, that performance?
Yeah, exceptionally. I thought it was a good all-round display from us. You know, Ipswich are a good side, and I said before about wanting to kind of show that we've improved as a team since we played them down at Portman Road. Out possession we were good, but the in-possession stuff was good tonight. You know, we played some really good approach play and we got the goal. Probably could have had another couple, but all in all, we're pleased with the display.
How are you going to manage this cup run now with a promotion push at the same time? What's the best approach?
We're going to embrace it. I think there's too much in football of saying, oh, we've got another game. We've got the squad to cope with it. And, you know, you're in football to have nights like this, to get the club into the 5th round, to make our own little bit of history. And when the games come, we'll be ready. We've got players who didn't make the bench tonight. We've got a couple of others who'll be back fit by then. And we'll keep utilising the squad and enjoy it. And that's what footballs are about. Every season is very special. And the FA Cup is part start of that season, and we wanted to win tonight. We made changes, but we set the team up obviously with the aim of getting through, and now we're going to enjoy the draw whenever that is. I haven't even looked. Monday. Yeah. We're going to enjoy the draw, and we're going to make sure by the time we come to the next round we've kept our league position, and you can see there's a great spirit in the ground, and we'll keep that going.
You say every season is very special, but just how special could this season be?
I don't know, but we've had some great ones here over the last few years. Who knows? You just take each game as it comes. And the Forest game on the FA third round was brilliant atmosphere here. It was, and tonight it was important we backed that up. Ipswich team from our division, but a great history themselves in the FA Cup, and it was important we backed that Forest performance up with another win tonight for our supporters can remember.
Day off tomorrow or impossible?
No, we'll have a day off tomorrow, and then we'll be back in Sunday and just get the lads ready for Bristol. And we'll pick the team to go and keep maintaining our league form, hopefully.
And Ipswich again next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. It's listen. It's we weren't looking at next week. We we're just looking at tonight, and we've done the job tonight, and we'll enjoy that.
Thank you for your time, and well done tonight.
Thank you. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thanks, Phil.
Oh, the boys were happy with what Phil had to say there. No nonsense.
Brilliant.
Old school.
Taking it seriously. And he's in the draw. See?
See, I'm giving the lads a day off tomorrow.
They have a day off. Yeah.
More FA Cup on the way. Birmingham against Leeds, Brighton early on Sunday morning. That game available on ESPN2, but all eyes on Monday. Macclesfield, the Giant Killers, taking on Brentford. Flying high at the top of the table, 11 points clear as it stands right now. The closest challengers, Manchester United. Football W has you covered every single week. On Tuesday, you can catch up with Christina Alexander and Natalie Astrayan, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+.
You were on it this week, were you?
I was. I made my Football W debut.
Getting around, aren't we?
Getting around.
I'll tell you what, if Neda Manuha's not on extra time, I might be a walkout.
Extra time's on the way next. Stick around.
Seriously.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Just Craig and Stevie, because Neda Manuha's a part-timer.
Well,
honestly,
there's too much of this now, I have to be honest. Right?
Soft. Soft these days.
Oh, it's cold. Oh. Neda was like, before the game, he goes, Neda, what do you think of this game? Oh, it's tough, it's cold here. Then it snowed, he was cold again, he was showing at half-time like that, and then he was like, I just want to go home, a hot cup of cocoa, this job's hard.
And
then we get soft, we got soft producers letting them go.
Emerald.
Got to be hard there, stay to the end.
Something amazing happened today, though, that I've not seen often on this panel.
What?
Phil Parkinson from Wrexham spoke.
He should have been fined.
And you guys
he should have been
really
fined.
Happy with what you heard.
No, well, I wasn't happy before the game when he called Nottingham Forest Notts Forest.
Notts Forest.
That's a fine.
But he made up for it, right?
Well, not
in the
quite.
post-match. What did you like, Stevie?
Well, he didn't complain about how many games they've got. It was, well, we've got a squad and we're going to use the squad. That's what it's for. And we love the FA Cup and the fans love it was just, that's what you should be saying. How lucky are you to be playing football or managing a football team?
And then Alex,
all you want to do is complain about everything.
And then the other thing that him and I perked up with was, and will you be having the players in tomorrow because you've got a busy schedule, or will they be having a day off? And he didn't say, no, they'll be coming in and they'll be going to see our 54 masseuses. And there are 84 sports scientists. He said, we're having a day off. And the other thing he didn't say, just let himself down. He said, well, they can have a day off and they can have a pint.
Aye.
No, but he's kind of old school, isn't he, in a sense that he had a good run in the FA Cup, I believe, a few years ago with Bradford. I think they knocked Chelsea out. Might have been Mourinho's Chelsea at the time. I stand corrected. And so I think he gets it as a player who's been around the block and how important the FA Cup is. He's juggling this phenomenal story and I suppose pressure as well with Wrexham just coming up the divisions, and most people said they get to the Championship, they're going to get their head knocked off, they're going to find out how tough it is, and they did to start with, but he's manoeuvred them into the playoff positions, and the Premier League is within touching distance.
I love Wrexham, but I'll be fuming if it takes one season in the Championship and that's all it took for them.
You lot.
Well, it's even more so there.
But even if Middlesbrough go up?
No, of course not. But all those years when you can't get out. But I like Wrexham, so I don't mind. Just don't want it to be at Middlesbrough's detriment.
No, you don't like Wrexham.
I like them.
You said it was a horrible place.
When have you ever said I like Wrexham?
Well, to be fair, if you come from Middlesbrough, Wrexham's like it's like Santa Monica, isn't it? It's like Palm Beach.
Absolutely.
You're from Borough.
Many parallels. Go on.
Well, we've had some places tonight. You got Middlesbrough, you had Wrexham, we had a game at Hull. Oh, good grief.
Yep. You've got Macclesfield.
The only thing missing was Grimsby.
Yeah. Craig, you are head coach. Who are your 2 assistants from FC? Dan Kay and Alexis can be included.
What do you mean?
If you're a head coach, who are your 2 assistants from ESPN FC? You get a job as head coach wherever it may be. Who are you bringing with you?
Quite simple, isn't it? Well, it's him and Shaka, isn't it? Well, he's got all the experience. And he might stop me from punching a few. And Shaka will just be he's the guy that just laid back going, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He's a good cop.
Shaq's the dressing room peacekeeper.
Are you going to take the job though, Steve?
Aye. Okay. What was Mariner, right, Paul? God bless his, God rest his soul, he's not with us. What was Mariner like though, as an assistant? Was he like a peacekeeper, or how did he make that when you were fuming with the players, or a player, or you were really annoyed? How did he do? What did he?
Well, he was the go-between between me and definitely the ones that I was giving volleys to.
Yeah.
But no, he was.
Was he good like that?
Oh, he was. I was going to say he had a nose for the job, but that might come across as the wrong way. But apart from, he did have a big nose. But no, because he knows football, and he can read the temperature in the room, he can read the temperature of the gaffer or whoever it is, and he would just, without being told or without saying anything, he would just smooth things over. But when it needed, he would put the hammer down as well, and then I would turn around and do what he normally did. But 90% of the time, he was the guy that just went around and spoke to the lads and any problems and keep your eye on him. Because he was fantastic. And then in the game, we'd be sat in the game, and he'd just be sat at me and going, "Well, what do you think about this?" And I'd be like, "No." "Well, what if we did that?" I'd be like, "No." And I'd go, "Oh yeah, I quite like the sound of that." So yeah, he was great.
But I mean, when you're a manager there, you're going to have a group of players, and some of them are going to like you, some are going to love you, and some are going to hate you, right? Aye. It's just the way it is when you're a manager. Yeah. But you can imagine Paul. I don't think that any of them would have disliked him.
No.
So he could take all the hate for the decisions that he has to make, but you can imagine Paul being in there and the players just respecting him and being the way he was. So perfect. I did like your nose line.
Aye, but
I'm sure he would have left it.
Oh, he would have left that.
What? I didn't even mention his teeth. I could have mentioned it.
What is most surprising about this season so far? Liverpool struggles, Brentford in contention for Europe, or Forest now onto their 4th manager? Rank in order.
You've got to go with Brentford. It's the biggest surprise, isn't it?
Well, I'm not surprised at Nottingham Forest because the ownership is...
Right.
And they brought Edo in, and it's a bit crazy.
Right.
The Liverpool and Brentford thing is because we all started, myself included, at the start of the season said, right, who's going to catch Liverpool? Aye. And it just was not, I don't think anybody could have envisaged Liverpool being in this fight for the top 4 or 5. But also, I'll be honest, I think I had Brentford as one of the teams to be relegated, because when I saw they lost Visa and Bemo, Flecking the goalie, although they brought Kelleher in, he's a very good goalie, Norgard to Arsenal, obviously Bemo to Man United, I thought, how the hell are they going to... They're giving Keith Andrews a job.
Frank went. Thomas Frank went.
Yeah, Frank goes. Keith Andrews, who was there, gets the job, but he's a rookie. The best players go. They're a small club anyway. You think, this is going to go downhill badly, but no, it's been very good, brilliant.
think it has to be Liverpool, actually, on reflection.
Yeah.
Because in many ways, Brentford are Forest of last year. You know, because Wales had Forest getting relegated last season. And they ended up, well...
But they're playing better football than Forest.
They are. But they almost ended up in the Champions League. So it's kind of happened 2 years in the trot. So it'd have to be Liverpool. Yeah, because we didn't give... I mean, straight off the bat, without a ball being kicked, we were all like, who's going to beat Liverpool?
Liverpool, Brentford, Forest. It's ironic that, you know, Forest are obviously in this tough fight. And I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm sure deep down, if Nuno Espirito Santo keeps West Ham up and they are the side to knock and he is the manager to knock Forest down, it's going to be bittersweet for him the way that all ended at Nottingham Forest with Marinakis, bearing in mind the job that guy did at the club. So it's kind of some irony in the offing with, because it looks like at the moment it's either or West Ham or Forest. Maybe there'll be one or two more get dragged in, but that's how it looks at the moment.
Okay, Paul put them in order, right? Liverpool, Brentford, Forest.
Yep.
Okay, Stevie, if Chelsea keep winning games, will you finally say something nice about them?
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Paranoia is alive and well.
Look who's in it. Look at the name.
What?
Look at the handle.
And shoe lifts. There's not a shoe lift. There's not a shoe lift big enough to make a difference.
Oh, no
It tickled you, that one, didn't it?
It did. There's no need.
That's
for that.
not fair.
No, it's not.
Well, you're
fair.
laughing at his.
He would laugh at me too. It's
The
fine.
fact that he's vertically challenged.
He said I couldn't cook the other week, so.
Dan shoe lifts.
Are you waiting to say something?
Just don't want to.
Something nice.
Do you like the kit?
Well done for winning today.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Last question.
Nice enough.
Yeah, let's see how nice you actually are. For the guys, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. What was the most romantic thing you ever did for your wives? And Kay, what's the most romantic thing your husband ever did for you?
Next question. Stop.
I want to do something really
Whoa,
romantic.
whoa. Stop.
You're going on a romantic getaway, aren't you?
Let's go to end the programme.
Stevie, I bet you've got a bit of romance in you.
The programme.
You're right.
Yeah, I can't add too much.
This is not a question for him and I.
There you go.
Oh, we're going to wrap it up there. We love you all. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. Make sure to join us on it. ESPN FC, available every single day.